So the benefit of having the trigger pull versus a mallet is, as most people know who have installed engineered flooring, that top veneer can be pretty thin. So what happens is with the 50P, so to say, when you're banging that floor together with the mallet, you're going to potentially start seeing some damage coming to that top layer. The trigger pull tools really have taken that out of the equation because you're not banging anything. It's just riding along into the groove or the tongue and firing where you're not getting that force on that top layer to cause that damage. So,
gotcha.
And truthfully, you can get closer to the wall with the trigger pulls versus the mallet tools, and just a little easier to fire, in my opinion, and they are a lot less expensive to buy too. So
sure.
Economic.
Yeah, and one of the things I would point out that I use the trigger pull tools on are my starter rows. So when I get my starter row down, I can just get it nailed in pretty quick with the trigger pull tool, so I'm not knocking it off my line as well.
Right. Yeah, and that, again, huge benefit of that 50F 18 gauge cleat is being able to even use that starter row on a 3/4 solid job as well. So big advantage to that guy.
Why don't you just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do, and then tell us a little bit about Powernail.
Sure. So my name is Matt Allen. I am with Powernail, and we manufacture flooring tools, cleats for hardwood flooring, along with some other products as far as carpet tools and accessories for underlayment and so forth. So been with Powernail now pushing 6 years now. My background is more so on the flooring side, but jumped on this side, like I said, about 6 years ago. And Powernail has got a very unique and pretty significant story in the hardwood flooring industry. Back in 1940, I think 8 or 9, they actually invented the L cleat with the actual manual 45 nailer. So the whole blind nailing process that everybody's using today, Powernail invented that product back in the late 40s. So we've been a pretty significant influence in the flooring industry for 70 years now, and still a family-owned business by the second generation of Anstedts, and we're based right outside of Chicago and Lake Zurich. So
awesome.
yeah, it's a pretty significant story in my opinion, but I'm a little biased.
Interesting. I didn't realize that you guys had invented the cleat. Now, is that the first machine that did blind nailing?
To my understanding, yes, it is.
Okay, interesting. I just was on a floor about 3 weeks ago. It was a 118-year-old floor, and all the nails were square handmade nails made by a blacksmith. So
yeah,
I know that they were blind nailing well before that, but that's interesting. You guys developed the machine that did it, so you won't have to hand nail everything.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I mean, we've got a nice little, in our office, we've got a nice little case, glass casing that shows the evolution of all the tools. And I mean, they've had their hands in a lot of different tools, you know, with window sash pins and stuff like that, where they actually got their start. But yeah, it's pretty neat to see the evolution of where Powernail's come from then to now.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I think most guys know you probably for your cleat nailers, your staplers, just the typical flooring tools that you're going to see a guy out putting solid floor in, or I mean, I guess even some pre-finished floor as well.
Yeah.
But today we're going to be talking about a couple different tools that you guys make that are actually hand trigger actuated tools that shoot fasteners. So why don't you tell us a little bit about kind of the tools that we're going to be looking at?
Absolutely. So what Powernail's come up with, it's really a 3-tool system that we call the F series. And these tools are designed specifically for engineered product, pre-finished product, that and unfinished as well, but specifically for the unfinished product, we design these to really take a lot of the potential damage to pre-finished flooring away by using these tools, by not having to use our old mallet actuated 50P flex that would sometimes cause damage to that top veneer. So we've got 3 tools that I'm going to dive into now. But what I'm first going to do is just kind of touch on 3 features of this tool that really set us apart from other guys. And number 1, you'll notice, at least on our tools, we've taken everything off the nose as far as the adjustment foot and the safety that a lot of times can cause some issues with either accuracy in adjusting the thicknesses, and sometimes safety is not being engaged due to profiles in the tongue. So everything got moved off the nose, and what we have is our patented single lever flex foot. So it's just a single lever adjusting that essentially you loosen, and then you can maneuver up and down to get to any thickness that you're installing. And we did move the safety off the nose, and we moved it here on the handle. So nice. It just, what it does, and I'll try to show you. This is probably going to be tough to see, but here's a little piece of wood. It actually rests on the product rather than on the subfloor. So then what you're able to do is, a lot of these wider planks are calling for a glue assist install. So you actually trowel or caulk some glue on the floor, and then you nail it down as well. Having this profile of tool being able to sit on top of the wood product really allows you to trowel your glue out as far as you can and not worry about getting glue all over your gun and stuff. So it really has just made, excuse me, a very easy and convenient way to install flooring with, really, if you look at the engineered flooring that's out there now, I mean, you're talking 4, 5, 6 different thicknesses that you're coming across. So not having to mess with shims and stuff, and to be able to just do a single lever adjust is really by far a huge benefit to these tools. And one thing that you really should pay attention to is on the lever. It's going to be tough to show, but there's a spring load on this that you can actually lift up, move over, and ratchet tighter. So then as you're installing the floor, this won't have the tendency to scoot down on you and you lose your angle and everything when you're installing. Or if it's not gliding along your magazine, you can reverse it and make it more loose to where it'll slide a little bit better for you. So, so those are really the key features of the F-Series tools that we have, that we feel, and actually the feedback we've gotten, really sets our F-Series engineered tools apart from the other manufacturers out there, because it really just is an easy and convenient way to install engineered flooring. So those are the features of the F-Series. The tools that are included in the F-Series, we've got the 2000F, and this one, again, every flex foot is the same on these, but the the 2000F is a 20 gauge cleat nailer. And what you're going to notice as I'm going through these is the 20 gauge cleat box is the same color as the tool. So these are color coordinated to help contractors, distribution, anybody really kind of figure out what fastener goes with what tool. So we try to really make it easy for everybody.
Gotcha.
But the 20 gauge cleat, you're going to see really for 3/8 and thinner products that you're going to nail down, because it only shoots up to 1 1/4 inch cleat. So you're not going to be able to get too thick with that. But the nice part is there are still a couple manufacturers that do specify this in the installation specs. I know a Shaw product, which is called Epic, and then an Armstrong product, Natural Reflections, I believe, is the 2 products that I can remember right now that specify this tool for their installation products. So the 20 gauge cleat is
so on the 20 gauge cleat, real quick, you're saying that's anywhere from 3/8 down to thinner. That's
correct.
That's used for. Okay.
Correct. Yeah. 5/6, again, 5/16 is probably the next thinnest you'll see. Outside of that, you don't see a ton of thinner product than that. So
gotcha. Okay.
But yeah, so, and I'll touch on it after the fact, but the 20 gauge cleat also has Powernail's patented HD head, which I'll dive into after I introduce all the tools to just kind of explain what design that benefits you guys for. Then what we've got next in the lineup is the 1845. This is an 18 gauge narrow crown stapler. It shoots 1 1/4 and 1 1/2 high tensile strength staples that we offer. One of the selling points on this one is we did actually go with an extra long magazine, so it will fit 2 different rows of staples, so you do have fewer reloads as you're installing. Again, same deal with flexing the foot down, and as you can see, that's sticking a little bit on the magazine there, so I can lift up on that lever, and then I can loosen it up, and it's going to slide fine. So, but the 18 gauge 1/4 crown staple is probably a lot more popular than people want to believe, but the Mannington hardwood line actually has put this in their preferred tool specs for their installs. So
gotcha.
So now you've got the 1845.
So I'm sure that's probably something that most contractors are going to be familiar with, is that 18 gauge staple, if anything? Because that's the same thing that you would buy at Home Depot. You'd buy DeWalt staples, and they sell the same type of fastener, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So one thing to pay attention to is we do say it's a true quarter crown staple. There are some brands out there that have a skinnier crown on their staple. So if you do have issues with staples gliding through, not only my stapler but other staplers, check the crown on those, because if they are too skinny, they're not going to glide. And the nice part is with these, I mean, you're not going to find them in those box stores, but the nice part is they're going to be priced to a point where you're going to be able to compete with those box stores. So, you know, to buy locally, as we'll call it, and help out locally owned businesses, you're going to be able to compete price-wise with these, with the competitors that you see at those other shops. So,
Gotcha.
but yeah, the quarter crown staple is very popular out there. So the
And
nice part.
what thicknesses does that one go between?
So this shoots up to 1.5 inch staple. So you're going to see up to 1/2 inch, maybe even up to like a 7/16 product. When you get into the 9/16 thickness or 3/4 inch thickness, you're going to jump more into that 1 3/4 inch length. So you're really going to find a 1/2 inch or 7/16 with this guy and lower, as far as adjusting. So, and one point I did not bring up on these is as you're installing the floor and you're getting close to the wall, you can slide this down and get probably about 4 inches to the wall. So you can actually get really close up to like the last board. So your top nails are going to be covered by the base and shoe mold. So you're not going to have to do a lot of gluing or top nailing with these tools, because you're able to slide that flex foot down and really get close to the wall, which is a huge advantage with these tools versus the ones that have the nose mounted flex foot. So,
Gotcha.
yeah, so the nice part with this design as well is on profiles for flooring, you've got your standard tongue and groove, but there are some interlocking ones out there that some people want to float. But the nice part with these is if the customer doesn't want to float it, you can actually install these with our nose and still be able to click it in and not have any gap issues. So the variety of profiles that you can install with the F series is pretty much limitless, because you can really bury the nose in there and not have to worry about affecting the locking or interlocking of the other profiles. So
Gotcha.
big selling point on the F series is being able to really hit those other profiles. So, and probably the most popular one that you're gonna, not most popular, but the most utility tool you're gonna find in the F series is the 50F. And the 50F is actually an 18 gauge cleat nailer. And if anybody's familiar with the Powernail 50P Flex, these actually shoot the same fastener. So the 50P Flex is also able to adjust from 3/8 to 3/4 inch. But again, some of this engineered product can't take the force from that mallet hitting the floor. So that's the beauty with this guy, is he can now shoot an 1 3/4 cleat, 1.5 cleat, or 1 1/4 cleat, and really hit any range of engineered product from 5/16 up to 3/4 inch. And the nice part is with the 50F, you can actually fire through a 3/4 inch solid. And where I've utilized that at some NWFA trainings is along the wall. Like I told you before, as you slide this thing down all the way to the bottom of the magazine, you can get about 4 inches to the wall and still be able to fire into the tongue and still interlock that next plank in. So having that ability and power to go through a 3/4 solid really helps you on really all installations, not just engineered, but solids. And it does have the power to, again, like I said, through 3/4 solid, but also can go through strand woven bamboo. If guys are still selling that and putting that stuff down, it is designed to be able to go through that more dense product. And again, just a very handy tool. And with that HD head that I told you about, these are actually designed, and you can go to find all this stuff on the powernail.com website, but the design on that HD head is really designed to go in and reduce the damage that you see with the product. So dimpling, tongue splits, blow through. That HD head is designed to reduce, if not eliminate, those installation issues that you come across. The nice part with the F series as well is each tool does come with a tapping block. So, and it is also sold with a case. So
Awesome.
the tool
Yeah.
comes with a case and a tapping block. And realistically, with the diversity of tools and fasteners that we have in this F series, there's really no installation that you can't go through on an engineered product. So,
Gotcha. So, real quick question I have is with, and I think you partly addressed this, but with the 18 gauge tool, shooting an 18 gauge cleat, what are the advantages of having like a trigger actuated tool over and above a mallet actuated tool? Because you're shooting the same fastener.
Correct. Yeah. So the benefit of having the trigger pull versus the mallet is, as most people know who have installed engineered flooring, that top veneer can be pretty thin. So what happens is with the 50P, so to say, when you're banging that floor together with the mallet, you're going to potentially start seeing some damage coming to that top layer. The trigger pull tools really have taken that out of the equation because you're not banging anything. It's just riding along into the groove or the tongue and firing where you're not getting that force on that top layer to cause that damage. So,
gotcha.
And truthfully, you can get closer to the wall with the trigger pulls versus the mallet tools, and just a little easier to fire, in my opinion, and they are a lot less expensive to buy too. So
sure.
Economic.
Yeah, and one of the things I would point out that I use the trigger pull tools on are my starter rows. So when I get my starter row down, I can just get it nailed in pretty quick with the trigger pull tool, so I'm not knocking it off my line as well.
Right. Yeah, and that, again, huge benefit of that 50F 18 gauge cleat is being able to even use that starter row on a 3/4 solid job as well. So big advantage to that guy.
Awesome. So you've got in the F series, sounds like you've got pretty much a good lineup to go all the way from the thinnest thing you'd want up to a full 3/4 solid. What kind of maintenance do you typically recommend or ask for on the tools? What's a contractor going to have to do to maintain these tools?
Sure. We really ask you guys to drain your compressor after you use it. So when you're done with the job, go ahead and twist the bottom and let it air out and dry out so you're not shooting water into the gun. And we really ask you to do 1 to 2 drops every 8 hours of using the tool. It's pretty simple. I mean, it sounds simple, but that's pretty much it. And realistically, when we see guys do that, the tool life is by far exceeding anything else that you see out there. Again, 95% of the tools that we have come into our shop for our repairs are due to either lack of oil or lack of draining your compressor. I mean, those are the most common issues that we have. The beauty part is if you do happen to have, a busted drive blade or, a seal that does go bad, it is only a 1-part repair piece for these tools. And it is actually simple where you just take the 4 screws off the cap, pull out the bad piece and put the new one in and you're done. So if you are on the job and something does go bad, I would hope you guys, as an installer, you have some on hand in your van and you can swap it out and switch it out in probably 20 minutes. So it's rather than have a bunch of tools on your shelf, as replacements, just keep the part on hand and that should do it for you.
Gotcha. Now that part that you're referring to, is that like a maintenance kit that just comes as an all-in-one, or is it?
Yeah, and I meant to pull it out and I forgot to, Daniel. I apologize, but it all it is blade, piston, and seal all in one.
Gotcha. So that was going to be my next question is, a lot of guys maintain their own tools. So you guys sell for each of the guns, you sell a maintenance pack, and that's just all the O-rings and the cylinder that you pull out and put in.
Correct. Yeah. So, I mean, there's 2 parts on here. There's a seal on the cap, and then that dry blade assembly, we call it, that really any Master's Craft repair pro shop should have on hand. And if not, one thing we do on our website is we do offer parts directly to the consumer, so they can have that directly shipped to them if you're not conveniently positioned close to a Master's Craft. So
sure. Awesome. Okay. So we've covered maintenance. What's the warranty on the tools?
Warranty, a 1 year, no questions asked on the tool itself, and then the body, non-moving parts of the tool is a 6-year warranty. So it's pretty basic. All of our tools come with a 1-year warranty, outside of some of our carpet pad staplers, but pretty much it's a no questions asked where you send it directly to us at Powernail. We do all the repairs in-house, and then we ship it back to your customer. So very, very proud that we still do a lot of pretty much all our repairs in our facility in Chicago still. So
Nice.
yeah.
Okay, so it kind of reminds me, I did a pre-finished floor recently, and I bought a similar tool, and it was for expedience sake, because Amazon is usually faster than everybody in the world. I bought a Chinese 18 gauge narrow crown stapler, and it was $60. And it was every bit of $60.
Yeah.
But when I was using it, trying to get through this job slowed me way down, because I was having to stop, make sure it was directly on the tongue, which the mechanism didn't sit well. So I'd have to make sure I wasn't firing a staple through the face.
Sure.
That bottom foot kept walking up on me. Somehow I got through that job, and it's kind of sat on my shelf ever since. So I know, especially with a tool like that, it's probably a little bit more expensive than the average tool, especially more expensive than the Chinese tool. But what I hear you saying, and what I've seen with your products, is it's oftentimes better to buy the right tool once, as opposed to the tool that will get you through the job and then having to go back and readdress that need when you get to the next job.
Right. So yeah, Powernail prides itself on being the professional's tool. So it's not going to be a throwaway tool by all means. And I would say, if you get to a shop and you actually touch it and feel one, there is really no plastic on this tool. This is all metal. So, the nice part with these though is it's not going to be a $60 tool, but it's going to be very comparable in price when you figure out, how long this tool is going to last you. So I would encourage contractors to, if you're going to get paid using a tool, you'd probably want one that's not going to break down and you have to go and replace, after every job. So I think for the price of these things, you'll be pleasantly surprised on how competitive it is price wise. Secondly, you were mentioning how, the flex or the adjustment was scooting on you throughout your job. The nice part with this is, as I mentioned, with that spring-loaded lever on these tools, you can really tighten it up to where it's not going to move on you. So I would highly recommend going to Powernail's website, watching the demo video on how these things are actually used, so you can really take advantage of seeing how these adjustment foots are used, and how you can find, being able to figure out that the spring-loaded lever will actually benefit you to extra tighten the flex foot, so you don't have that scooting issue as you're installing the floor. So I would put this up against any tool out there, and really for a few bucks more, well worth it in my opinion, because you're not going to throw it away. And if something does get damaged on it, the nice part is we're right outside of Chicago, and we're going to repair it for you and stand by our warranty on it too. But I can knock on wood and say that I don't get it. The majority of calls that I get on this tool is because guys aren't really familiar with how the lever works with the spring load, and that's it. So I would just pay attention to that, and really you're going to find this it's really easy to use.
So last question is, if a guy was going to mess that tool up, what are the easiest pitfalls for him to avoid?
The easiest pitfalls, one, always drop the oil in it so you can keep your seals going. But what we've done, and on the older models, we've remedied this with the newer ones. But the spring-loaded lever actually has an Allen wrench screw that is designed, or is same size as the gate plate screws here, where you clear your jams. So guys would actually unscrew this, and the spring would pop out, and that would be probably the number one warranty issue that we've had, is a busted lever, either unscrewed or guys are over cranking it and actually snapping it off. So that would be number one. Just watch how the lever works, or know how the lever works, and you really won't have many issues with these tools at all, as long, again, as you're doing the proper maintenance with draining your compressor and dropping oil in it. So
awesome. Well, awesome. And I was going to end with one real quick story that I think I've never told you. I've told very few people, but I just remembered this when we were going to do the Instagram live. I used to run our shop in Houston, Texas, which is a big Powernail market. And I had a homeowner come in, and he wanted to put in his own floor, and we had it was one of your mallet actuated guns. So I lent that / rented it to him, and he brought it back about a week later, and he said, man, got it done, but that installing floor was super difficult. And somewhere in the conversation, I set the gun down on a piece of flooring, and he said, you have it backwards. And I said, what do you mean? And he goes, wait. And he looks at it. He had installed his entire floor by nailing into the groove.
Wow.
And
okay.
hand setting every nail.
That is
and
interesting.
Then putting in the next piece, and then nailing and hand setting every single nail. So
awesome.
at the end of the day, I guess that can work. He probably has a squeaky floor at this point, but
yeah, I've never said that to me. That's awesome. That's hilarious.
All right, well, awesome, man. I appreciate you joining us today, and thanks for running us through the products. Do you have anything else you want to highlight?
I don't, man. Just really appreciate your partnership with Powernail, and appreciate everybody who does support Powernail. And I really do thank you for the time today. Everybody stay safe and healthy out there.
You too, man. All right. We'll see you all later.
All right. Thanks, Daniel.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.